Today I'm sharing an article titled Interviews with 100 Men. The most terrifying thing in marriage is when a man requests to sleep separately. Since ancient times, sleeping together has been considered the most important symbol of becoming husband and wife. How well two people sleep together is also regarded as a barometer of the relationship between spouses. So what do married men think about sleeping separately? Today, let's listen to their thoughts. Sleeping separately, what man would voluntarily make such a request? Age 35, married for 7 years. My wife and I have always slept in the same bed. I'm very curious about why there is even a topic about couples sleeping separately. It's laughable that people actually debate whether sleeping separately affects marital feelings. Isn't sleeping separately something women usually propose? What normal man would make such a ridiculous request? If a man voluntarily suggests sleeping separately from his wife, it must be because he has reached a point of extreme aversion towards her. He's either prepared for a divorce or maintaining a marriage in form only. As long as a man has even a slight feeling for his wife, he wouldn't dare to propose sleeping separately. Why? Women tend to overthink things. As time goes by in a marriage, feelings may fade, and women become more sensitive. Just imagine if I were to propose sleeping separately, what kind of reaction would I face? My wife's reaction would surely be something like this. How much do you despise me? We don't see each other during the day at work, and now you want to avoid me at night too. When the child wakes up at night for water or to go to the bathroom, you just want to dodge responsibilities. Are you seeing someone outside? Why do women voluntarily propose sleeping separately? For most, it's probably just a whim. Of course, it doesn't rule out genuine aversion to the husband. Women who want to make a fuss can find plenty of excuses: smelly feet, snoring, uncomfortable sleeping positions, essentially, the husband's habits affecting her sleep quality. But weren't these habits there when they first got married? Why didn't they sleep separately back then? After sleeping together for several years, suddenly it's unbearable? Is it not a habit issue anymore? Ultimately, it boils down to problems in their relationship. Will sleeping separately affect marital feelings? The answer is obvious. Sleeping separately is a result of existing problems. How can they go back to the same bed once they've separated? Don't talk about giving each other space to cool down. Emotional distance will turn gaps into chasms, and that space will never be enough. Avoidance is not a solution to the problem. To put it more severely, middle-aged couples starting to sleep separately is akin to signing a death sentence for their marriage. Living like a bachelor in a marriage. Age 28, married for 3 years. In our small county town, people tend to get married early. My wife and I met through an introduction and got married because of a pregnancy. We've been married for 3 years, and our child is a bit over 2 years old. We've been sleeping separately for 3 years now. A month after we got married, my mother-in-law came over from her hometown to take care of her daughter, who was having severe morning sickness. We live in a 1-bedroom apartment, so having an extra person meant someone had to sleep in the living room. My mother-in-law said she couldn't sleep on the sofa due to her poor health, and my wife wanted to sleep with her mother to make it easier to care for her. So I moved to the living room to sleep on the sofa. I initially thought my mother-in-law would return home after a while, but it's been 2 or 3 years now. She only went back for 3 days during last year's spring festival. All this time I've been sleeping in the living room while my wife, her mother, and the child sleep in the bedroom. The child is over 2 years old and can barely speak. He calls me dad but doesn't call his grandmother. I often read articles on marriage and relationships, aware that women criticize men for so-called widowed marriages. As a man forced to sleep separately, I experience a bachelor's marriage feeling trapped without a voice. Perhaps divorce is the best way out, but I've lost all enthusiasm for life. Even the thought of divorce seems like a hassle, so I just take it one day at a time. Sharing a bed is the basic respect for marriage. age 48, married for 23 years. We've been married for 23 years, and our daughter is about to graduate from college. We're a traditional old couple. I usually work on projects, and it takes me 3 to 4 hours to drive home, but I go back every weekend. At our age, some couples start sleeping separately, but not us. After living together for so long, feelings indeed transform into companionship, yet some pillow talk becomes a habit only shared while sleeping on the same bed. I believe that sleeping on the same bed is the basic respect for marriage. There are factors affecting sleep quality, but it depends on how two people handle them. For example, for years I've needed total darkness to sleep, while my wife must read before falling asleep. I'm an early bird, but she's a night owl. How do we handle it? I wear a sleep mask to bed, and that solves the problem. Over the years, I've used dozens of sleep masks. My wife is a light sleeper, waking up at the slightest disturbance, while my loud snoring is notorious. Once, a new guy next door woke up in the middle of the night, thinking it was thunder outside, and rushed to bring in his clothes. Interestingly, my wife has never been woken up by my snoring. Out of curiosity, we even tested it. Her sleep quality is the same whether I'm at home or not. Strange, isn't it? I think it's because we hold a mutual tolerance, and after being together for so long, our adaptations to each other go deep into ourselves. Conclusion. After reading many women's discussions about sleeping separately, listening to men's opinions is quite surprising. Among the married men I know, there is almost unanimous opposition to sleeping separately. The 3 male interviewees in this article are a microcosm of the broader group surveyed. Some women believe that at a certain stage of marriage, such as after the birth of a child or after the passionate period of marriage, sleeping separately is a natural choice that doesn't affect the relationship but rather enhances it by providing more space. However, we must be cautious. The idea that sleeping separately doesn't impact the relationship is perhaps more of a self-comforting delusion from women. When tempted by the idea of sleeping separately, it's worth asking ourselves, why am I no longer willing to sleep with him? Why can't I tolerate his smelly feet or snoring anymore? If our marriage were tested, what issues might arise? Note that for health reasons requiring medical advice to sleep separately, this should not be included in the discussion. That's it for today's sharing. Feel free to leave a comment with your thoughts. Don't forget to like and share it with your friends.